energy policy. Ben, you're welcome to Eyewitness News.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
First of all, Kelly Gadjakpo's exit, he's been there for some time now. If you were to assess his performance, would he be, because he's board chair, do you blame board chairs for the overall challenges we are witnessing, for instance, or he may go as someone who was very clean at his job, did a great job, and we should salute him?
Yeah, I think it's a very difficult question. When it comes to collective responsibility, I think we can put it on the total board. But the fact that he's also been there from the beginning of the government, the period that I actually saw a significant decline in the performance of ECG, certainly cannot be absolved of that responsibility that the company has been worse under that period. Yeah. So for me, I don't know what actually instigated his exit, but perhaps the entire board will have to account how the company has been managed over the period.
I see, but at this time that he's leaving, he has said it's for personal reasons, but of course, the issues in the sector are issues that would be referenced. Would it be, I don't know, is it fair to see someone who is supposed to chair the ECG board leaving at this crucial time when we have a whole challenge on the power sector?
Well, I think it could be various reasons. Maybe he thinks he cannot deliver, what has to be delivered to salvage the power sector. As we keep indicating, ECG is extremely important in the survival of the energy sector, not just the power sector, because the gas production and everything is linked to the power sector. The gas that is produced is used to generate power. If we don't pay, the state is called upon to pay, creating a lot of debt in that space. And then the power sector as well, you have IPP debt, you have interagency debt that is not cleared, it's still outstanding. So these are the challenges that we need the leadership of ECG to help address. So if he believes that he cannot deliver on that objective, then of course you wouldn't want him to extend his stay in that office. So I don't know what else would have accounted for it, whether there are other motivations for it. But for me, if the job wasn't done and he felt he couldn't deliver it, I think it saves the public for somebody else to come try.
Now we have a new board chairman. I don't know what you know about him. He's Deputy Minister for Energy. He was Deputy Minister for Trade. Any hopes there?
I don't know. I think at this point, you want to hope that it will take time. If he doesn't understand how the sector works, he will take time to understand it and appreciate that it's a very daunting job at this point to understand that the liability on the state is in excess of $1 billion every single year. And therefore, we need skilled hands to be able to reverse the trend and reduce the burden on the state and the people of Ghana. If he took his time to appreciate that, he will seek counsel and will be able to work to reduce that burden. And that's what we've been fighting for over this year. So that the budget that is supposed to go building the schools, the hospitals, the road infrastructure, protecting the vulnerable, is not used to pay for electricity that has been consumed, for example. So that is the job that he has on his hands. Unfortunately, the timing, I don't know, it's an election year where historically, the power sector has struggled to take sound decisions in an election year. So I don't know how he will be able to navigate that within this period. But we can only wish him well and hope that he lives up to expectations in the tax ahead.
Okay. So enough of on the personnel who are in the space. Let's talk about the sector itself. What is wrong? What is happening? The doomsday is very evident there. I don't know if you have been suffering or facing it too.
Yeah, I mean, it's happening, but we have access to what is happening in the space, and we know that there are deficits in generation. What that simply means is that we are not generating enough to be able to meet demand. And when that happens, you need to shed load. If you don't shed load and you keep all the demand on, the system will collapse. So at all times, ECG has, Gridco has a job to make sure that the system doesn't crash. They know when the demand is rising above supply, and they have that duty to shut some places down to ensure that, the entire system doesn't collapse. So what ordinarily should have been done is for ECG to then look at what could be available at every particular time, and then decide that Gridco, instead of using discretion, this is how you should do the schedule, so that it is apportioned, it is properly laid out for people to know when they're going to go off, and also limit the discretion that Gridco has at this point. Because as we speak, every evening, the Gridco engineer is at liberty to decide who goes off, because there's no plan for it. So if you feel that Umaru is not kind to me, and therefore every evening I have to take him down, you are going down, because there's no plan to actually insulate anybody from those kind of targeting. And that's why a plan becomes extremely important, so that we know who is going off at all points, particularly when we do know, in all honesty, that the supply is not enough to be able to meet the demand. I think that the honest thing to do is to let people know, inform, take away the discretion, and let people plan their lives.
It's interesting you talk about production at this time or generation at this time. 10 years ago, when we saw the challenges in the power sector, it was blamed on generation capacity. There was a reason that the then government brought in all these IPPs, and we saw all of these badges coming through, and that problem was solved, or at least that's what we're told. Why are we talking about generation capacity at this time when we already have been talking about excess power in the system by these governments?
Yeah, we have the plants. I think what is different is that we have the power plants that could come on stream if we had the fuel to be able to bring them on stream. I think that is where the challenge is. There are some plants that are going on under maintenance. I understand Amandi has been under maintenance. It's supposed to come back today. I don't know how that is going, whether they were able to actually resume production. If they were able to come back, that could improve the system a little bit, because Amandi's power plant is more efficient. What that means is that they can use less fuel to generate more power. So that would reduce the load that has to be shared. Beyond that, we know that we still don't have enough fuel, gas, to be able to meet the demand now, which is in excess of 3,500 megawatts. So the ideal situation will be to have some electricity at all times, particularly the off-peak, the peak period, to be able to meet demand. And that is also because we is not doing well in the peak period. It's a 400 megawatts capacity. It can now do maximum in 200 at peak, and they have to manage it to make sure that you don't overdraft it.
So it's a finance issue then.
At this point, it is buying the fuel that you need to be able to generate enough.
So government ought to pay the producers to buy the fuel they need to produce.
I don't think government has to be doing that. This is power that is procured, and sold to the consumer, and somebody has to collect the revenue to be able to pay the value chain.
So this is an ECG problem then. So this is an ECG problem, even though ECG is quasi-government, of course.
Yes, and that's the problem we've been trying to fix for the past 10 years. When we agreed that these inefficiencies were going to bite the country if we allowed it to persist, and therefore we needed to do the private sector participation and allow investment to thrive, and also fix the unnecessary inefficiencies in the space and allow revenues to be collected, optimal revenue collection. That would absolve government of these recurrent, responsibility of paying people's electricity bill when the power has actually been sold, and we can't trace who consumed what, and even those we can trace, we can't collect the revenue, and therefore the budget then has to be sacrificed to pay for the bill. If government was sure that, for example, you put in $100 million to buy fuel, and that money will come back, I'm sure government would have sacrificed for it by now. To put that money up and say, okay, you use it, generate power, sell it, and bring the money back.
Yeah.
But any money government puts in today, it is lost. We can just count our losses and know that it's not coming back. Even as we speak, without that intervention, government's liability and responsibility in the sector is about 250 million cities every month, to be able to show up the capital, the revenue requirements to meet the needs of the sector. So already a lot is being done. And if we have to pay extra through the budget, remember that government doesn't have anything except what we give it. So it means that the government has to find the money from us somehow to be able to.
So we should expect to pay more then.
Yes, not necessarily through electricity. You could be paying more through many forms. As we speak, we are paying ESLA, we are paying the Delta, all of it on petroleum products. All right. So if they cannot get more through electricity, you pay it in another form.
Thank you for speaking to us.
Okay.
That's Ben Boakye. He's Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy.